Certainly the attitude that we take in life determines, how we create our life or the quality that our life takes on. But unfortunately, most people, we haven't, I don't want to, if I want to say we haven't really been taught how to be creative, or maybe our creativity has been taught out of us. Maybe it's a combination of both. But most people, unfortunately, really don't understand what creativity means, or what it means to be creative, right? And we all kind of get that creativity is, painting pictures, sculpting, writing music, dance, what we call like the traditional forms of creativity that produces an art of some kind. But in reality, the most basic function of the mind is creativity. It has the ability to create its own life experiences, and at the same time simultaneously self-create, okay? Because, and we can say, whenever we say stuff and we embrace ideas, we have to kind of understand what it means, or what does it mean in terms of how we apply it to the rest of our life, right? But we say that knowledge only comes by way of experience, okay? And knowledge of something is gained by being in some kind of an experience or a relationship with something, and it's the experience that is the knowledge itself. And if we just have knowledge without experience, then it's kind of like theory, or it's kind of like something that we can recite, or that we get intellectually, or we can form a concept of it in our mind and go, oh, okay, yeah, I can see how that works. But not only do we not know how to apply it to our life, but we can actually watch it going on. We don't even know how to identify it, right? But once we create an experience of it, we completely obtain the knowledge of it from that experience. But the most primary power that we have in life is our ability to create our own experiences. And the other thing that's kind of been tainted in our society that steers people away from the truth is we've been taught, okay, and this kind of like feeds the ego, right? It feeds the wrong aspect, which is probably why it doesn't really work when people try it. For the most part, they find that it doesn't work. But is ideas that our creativity has been associated to manifesting stuff, okay? And it's not that we can't manifest stuff, it's that from a spiritual perspective, or certainly from the big picture look at things, life isn't about stuff. Life is about experiences. Life is about how we use our mind to create experiences that simultaneously create us, okay? Because the beauty of an experience is that how we come into a situation, as we're having an experience, we are simultaneously expressing ourselves in that situation, stimulating the situation through our expression, or through how we're expressing ourselves, that brings it out in other people, and then that quality becomes the theme or the basis of the interaction that we're having, and then we then identify with our experiences, or we identify with our own thoughts and stories about things, and that's how we get a sense of ourselves, right? It's based on who we are and how we feel when we're having experiences. So, and that sense of self is what we call the identity. The identity is kind of like the character that is perfect for telling certain types of stories, okay? And certain types of stories are what we call creative experiences, because all of life, at the very fundamental level, is a constant process of storytelling, okay? We're always, in our internal dialogue, or the voice in our head is always talking about stuff, right? It's either describing, explaining, telling little stories about things that give it meaning, it's recalling a memory and reliving it in its mind, all that type of stuff, but it's basically all experience oriented, okay? So, but I'm not sure if it's because we're confused about our creativity, or our society's kind of trained it out of us, or what, but most people have never been taught. They don't know how to be creative in their own life. They feel subject to life. They feel a victim to their circumstances. They honestly don't feel like they have any control most of the time, and they're always kind of in a state of just kind of like reacting or responding or trying to interact with whatever's happening out in the world around them, rather than being at cause in their life and intentionally bringing something to the situation as a means of creating a certain type of experience. Because creativity is being at cause, okay? When we are being creative, we are initiating, we are creating an idea, the vision, and then we are doing what it takes to actualize that vision, okay? Creativity takes an inspired idea as kind of like an invisible force, you might say, and through the process of the imagination and attaching thoughts and emotions and kind of embellishing and developing it into a full-blown dramatic reality, we actually manifest it into a physical experience that we can have, okay? So, and it's not really about stuff. It's about how we experience stuff. It's about how we experience each other. It's about how we engage in life, to bring ourselves to life, to use it as a medium for self-expression, as well as bringing a sense of intent and purpose, where we are first envisioning what kind of experience we want, and then we are able to embody the necessary qualities, become the character that can tell that story, or that can actually create that experience by how we're being in a situation, okay? So, but the other thing that, that we want to really notice, okay, is that our attitude that we walk through life with determines how we approach everything, okay? And what this means is that it kind of ties into the same idea that what we expect we find, what we look for, we find. When we set an expectation for a situation, it nearly always turns out the way we expected it to, right? And this is a form of belief that's operating, that's very subliminal in nature. So we think that the reason we have expectations is because that's the way things are, right? We don't understand that what we've actually done is we have programmed our mind to only look for, see, find, point out, and bring into our perception what matches or actually serves to create the expectation, okay? And this is huge, right? Because, I mean, I worked as a consultant for years, and still do, but it's like, when we walk into a situation with preconceived ideas about what's going on, the mind works to gather evidence that supports our preconceived ideas. So the whole mental, perceptual ability in a situation is to support, validate, and create a case. You might say it's kind of being in a court of law, right? You're creating a case that supports your idea as a preconceived idea. You're proving it, in other words. It's like the hypothesis, right? This is my theory, this is what I think's going on, and here's my evidence, right? So we present our case, and we see if it's convincing enough that everybody agrees with us, and we get deemed right, right? So this is kind of like the basic process that we move through life with. But the other thing is, our society is very negative focused, and we've even trained therapists okay, this is scary. We've even trained therapists to operate in ways that completely defy the principles of the mind, okay? And we jokingly say, I shouldn't tell you that we joke about this kind of stuff, but we jokingly say in one sense that a therapist actually creates their own clients, right? Because the way the mind works is whatever we focus on, run through our mind, relive, we are not only constantly re-experiencing and therefore imprinting it deeper and deeper into our psyche, but we are constantly identifying with that story that we're telling about the stuff that we quote unquote were traumatized by, or the stuff that we now need therapy for because we can't move past it. Well, so therapy in one sense is almost completely contradictory, and it's ultimately basically it's just unnecessary, because if you just learn how to use your mind in a different way, you don't need it. You can completely move past stuff by just learning how to create different types of experience. But anyway, the other thing is that we're very problem-oriented. We're always focused on what the problem is, right? Because we got to come up with a solution, and we think that the way to work with any situation is to walk into it, find what's wrong with it, find what the problems are, find what is causing it to be dysfunctional, and then addressing those problems, coming up with solutions. And we don't realize that all that really does is create more problems, okay? Because whatever we focus on, think about, develop into a full-blown reality, we just create more of. And there's actually a very different way that we can approach this. And whenever I started first talking about this, people looked at me like a deer in headlights, right? It's like, but I'm happy to demonstrate. That's what I did. I demonstrated for them. But we can actually walk into a situation and never even address the problems. We can walk into a situation with a clear idea on what is the ultimate goal, what is the ultimate desired outcome for this situation, what is the purpose of this situation, and how can we teach people how to hold in their mind ideas, pictures, images that support the desired idea, support the performance or the outcome of the situation, and keep them focused on that while infusing it with a positive emotion as a way of creating or moving them in that direction. And what happens is the problems, quote unquote, because we remove attention from them and place attention on something else and then infuse it with positive emotions, the problems just disappear, because the people are no longer behaving the problems anymore. They're not creating them anymore. So, but it's really a question of orientation, okay? Do we walk into a situation looking to fix something, or do we walk into a situation looking to create something? And when we embrace our creativity, we're at cause in our life. This is the part of us that forms an idea about what we want, what we desire in a situation, and this comes from a deep sense of knowing who we are, what we're about, how to create experiences that truly express who we are in a situation, and then we embody. This is the flexibility that and certainly if you're in leadership at all, we talk about this all the time. This is the ability to be flexible in your own life and intentionally embody certain emotions, qualities, attributes, character traits that are necessary to influence the situation or to walk in and create the type of experience that you have a desire to create. So if we start off with an attitude of creating, that determines our approach, right? Because attitude always determines approach. And so our whole approach becomes positive, building, increasing, and growing certain areas by how we impose a direct influence on that situation, as opposed to correcting, fixing, finding problems, talking endlessly about the problems, and then trying to come up with solutions. I mean, that's just very unproductive, and it's like kindergarten in the real world. But anyway, so we want to really pay attention to our attitude, recognizing that we're going to walk into a situation with an intention, a purpose, a desire, a vision, and then we're going to embody the qualities necessary, take on the character traits necessary to walk into that situation being a certain way, knowing that we're going to influence it and move it in the direction that we have a desire for it to go. And of course, this is very pertinent to romantic relationships, because these are the relationships in our life that are the big ones. These are the ones that are really important and really affect our self-development in a very profound way. So, but certainly, you know, sometimes you can engage in this in the middle of relationships. It kind of depends on the nature of the relationship and the people involved. But certainly if you're beginning a relationship, thinking about beginning a relationship, you know, found somebody you want to begin a relationship with, take an attitude of writing a great love story, right? Take an attitude of saying, how can I make this memorable? How can I infuse this situation with just beautiful moments and real positive euphoric emotions, and you know, write a great love story. Be the person that you know, embrace your creativity. Be in control. I don't want to say control because we're never really in control. I mean, we are, but we're constantly being influenced, and it's like this constant like flux and flow of little, you know, tingly stuff. But but we certainly, if we practice at it and get good at it, we certainly have the ability to intentionally create certain types of experiences based on how we go about them, or how we interact with people, and what quality and attitude we bring to any situation as a means of intentionally influencing it to stimulate certain qualities in people so that they will interact with those qualities. So, but just keep in mind, you do have the ability, and the other thing to keep in mind too is that experience is something that we totally create internally, okay? And this is kind of like the real meaning behind, you know, like what we create inward, we create outward, or what's inside becomes outside, is that all experience, what we call out here, right? We say, oh, the experience is out here, and I'm just having it, right? No, you are creating your experience of what's out here in here, and you're telling yourself something about it. You're giving it meaning, and you're imagining it to be about something or a certain way, and that is the experience, and you absolutely have control over this, right? You can't control what's out here, but you doggone sure control what's in here. So when we learn how to create different types of experiences, it transforms our entire life. Not to mention, embraces our creativity, our personal power, and our ability to really, truly write our life story in a way that's passionate and dynamic and adventurous, right? And one that just excites us to be a part of, instead of, you know, I don't know what people do, but I'm sure that many people have no sense of control over their life, no sense of creativity, and they're just out here doing the best they can. I'm hanging in there, you know what I mean? Because they don't ever realize that they have the power to be creative, they have the power to create experiences, they have the power to be a certain way in situations that impose a direct influence on those situations, and they can control their imagination, they can control their own emotional state, and they can choose what meaning to bring to life, right? What meaning to bring to a situation, and they have the ability through their will to be able to act that out and actualize it. Start off by practicing, right? Everything takes practice, and when you first start doing this, you're probably going to feel awkward and not really quite be sure of yourself and stuff. That's totally normal. But just start off practicing, and it can be just any situation. Go through your day, and every time you walk into a situation, ask yourself, what kind of experience do I want to create here, right? How do I want to be in this situation? How do I want to walk into the situation, and what kind of experience do I want to create for everybody that comes in contact with me based on how I'm being? And choose, right? Set an intention that says, okay, I'm going to create this type of experience, and this is how I need to be in order to create this type of experience, and I'm going to walk in here, and I'm going to stay focused on it and intentionally create a certain type of experience that has a certain type of feeling, meaning to it. And